This is the Qtv Nightly News, and I'm Jacqueline Coley. Thank you for joining us, and a reminder that you can also join us on Q Radio 103.3 FM. Here are the headlines. At the conclusion of the UN Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries LLDCs in Turkmenistan, the Gambia's Vice President, His Excellency Mohamed B.S. Jallow, late on Friday highlighted a strong international consensus on the urgent need to remove trade barriers and bolster global support for LLDCs. Energy Minister Nani Juara appeared on Friday at the weekly Mansakuna Ministerial Town Hall meeting and gave updates on the Gambia's petroleum exploration efforts, energy sector developments, and coastal sand mining concerns. In the last of his site visits this week to MSME Strait, Minister Babukar Ojuv and team called at the Kashugam Limited Enterprise in Brikama Kabafita in the West Coast region. Officials from the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat, ADRS, local authorities and members of the public witnessed the formal ceremony introducing community mediator at the ADRS premises in Farafenni. In international news, a 6-month deadline set by the West African bloc ECOWAS for Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso to reconsider their exit expired on July 29th without the three countries taking up the offer. Those were the headlines, now the news in detail. At the conclusion of UN Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries LLDCs in Turkmenistan, Gambia's Vice President, His Excellency Mohamed B.S. Jallow, late on Friday highlighted a strong international consensus on the urgent need to remove trade barriers and bolster global support for LLDCs to ensure their meaningful participation in global commerce. More in this report by Ansumane Sonyasi.
Vice President Jallow's compelling statement, a summary of the discussions held during the interactive thematic roundtable, focused on unlocking the transformative power of trade facilitation and regional integration for landlocked developing countries. He highlighted persistent challenges facing LLDCs, including restricted access to international markets and high transport costs, stressing the importance of integrating these countries into the multilateral trading system. Vice President Jallow emphasized the need for a dedicated World Trade Organization work program tailored to the unique circumstances of LLDCs, particularly those undergoing WTO accession processes.
Support was expressed for dedicated WTO work program assistance for LLDCs undergoing accession and tailored technical assistance and capacity building to help LLDCs to participate meaningfully in global trade governance with a stronger voice.
Vice President Jallow also underscored the critical role of the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, describing it as a cornerstone for easing cross-border trade, adding that there is a consensus among participants at the interactive thematic roundtable discussion that further support is essential to help LLDCs implement the TFA effectively, particularly through the modernization and digitalization of customs procedures.
Mobilizing private capital, together with risk-sharing mechanisms, will be vital to fill the large financing gaps. During discussion, multilateralism and regional cooperation were repeatedly underscored as indispensable. Participants noted the importance of fully implementing regional integration agreements and deepening provisions, particularly around transit, to fully realize these gains.
Furthermore, he says delegates have called for increased investment in infrastructure, the development of smart trade corridors, and stronger alignment of trade and transport initiatives with the Sustainable Development Goals. He also calls for stronger partnerships, particularly with transit countries, development partners, and international financial institutions to support trade diversification and build economic resilience.
Looking ahead, the roundtable concluded with a strong consensus on the need for bold, coordinated action to meet the AZOA Program of Action targets. These include doubling LLDCs, merchandise and services exports by 2034, expanding digital trade, reducing non-trade barriers, and improving transit infrastructure.
Meanwhile, Vice President Jallow also noted a broad consensus on the need for bold, coordinated policy actions. and a shared commitment to translate the resolutions into concrete strategies that will position trade as a true driver of inclusive and sustainable development for LLDCs. The UN Conference on LLDCs held in Azawa, Turkmenistan, concluded with the adoption of the Azawa Political Declaration and the formal endorsement of the Azawa Programme of Action 2024-2034. It is a landmark framework to accelerate sustainable development and resilience for the world's 32 landlocked nations, 16 of which are in Africa. Antoine Sonyasi for Qtv News.
The Minister of Petroleum, Energy and Mines, Nani Joara, appeared on Friday at a weekly Mansakunda Ministerial Town Hall meeting and gave updates on the Gambia's petroleum exploration efforts, energy sector developments, and coastal sand mining radar concerns. Usman Jalta reports.
The minister responsible for energy is mandated to issue licenses for the exploration, development and exploitation of oil and gas in the Gambia. However, whether the country has commercially viable oil and gas reserves similar to its neighbor Senegal remains uncertain. This follows unsuccessful drilling activities by FAR and Petronas in the Samo and Bambo wells in 2017 and 2021 respectively. Addressing the weekly Mansakunda Town Hall, Minister Nani Joara revealed that 5 oil exploration wells have been drilled in the country since 1960. He noted that only 1 offshore well was drilled between 1960 and 2018, while 2 more have been drilled since 2018. He further announced the signing of a new mineral exploration agreement to expand the country's geological prospects.
The government has signed a prospecting license agreement with a Norwegian Gambia mining company to explore polymetric nodules within the Gambia Exclusive Economic Zone, which has started in earnest. This initiative holds strategic importance for the nation, as the successful identification and potential exploitation of this deep-sea mineral resource could significantly enhance national revenue, diversify and mineral resource base, and promote sustainable economic growth.
On environmental issues, Minister Joara urged the public to support the government's efforts to combat illegal sand mining along the country's coastline, stressing its impact on the environment and local communities.
We have stopped mining activities on our coastlines because the environment has already been destroyed. And that's why government took the decision since 2023 to ban sand mining on the coastline from Bigelow all the way to Katong. This is a serious challenge today that all of us are facing as a government. So we are appealing to everyone to support the government in combating this menace.
The minister also reported that the Gambia is part of the Africa Gas Pipeline Project. The project's intergovernmental and host government agreements were finalized and adopted by ECOWAS heads of state on December 15, 2024.
The 5,600-kilometer Nigeria to Morocco gas pipeline project will pass through the Gambia and other West African countries along the Atlantic coast. And we expect this to cost, the entire cost of the project will be about $25 billion.
Highlighting energy infrastructure, Minister Joara commended the recent inauguration of the country's first 225 kilovolt solar plant in Jampur. The project, funded by World Bank, the African Investment Bank AIB, and the European Union, is a significant step in the Gambia's transition to renewable energy. The Energy Minister emphasized the importance of reducing our reliance on fossil fuels in favor of sustainable energy sources.
Gambia, like all other countries, we are all transitioning. We all want to move from our dependence on fossil fuel to renewables so that we can make energy cheaper for our people. We are all complaining the cost of energy as end users. But if we continue the same mode of production as we were doing since independence, the cost of energy will never go down in this country.
The Mansakunda Town Hall is part of the government's ongoing commitment to transparent governance and proactive information sharing, aligning with national development priorities. Osman Jata, QTV News.
In the last of his third visit this week to MSMEs, Trade Minister Babakar Ojuv and team called at the Kashugam Limited Enterprise in Brikama Kabafita in the West Coast region. Loliam Kamara has more.
Here, the delegates told processing sections and were briefed on the farm's plans and challenges.
If put into consideration, this is something that we can really harness at the end of the day. Because
this facility repurposes cashew cells, turning them into value-added products once regarded as waste.
this is what you use now to feed your cashews now.
It was made clear by these entrepreneurs that, given the right investment, young people of this country will make the much-needed change. Here is Musa Sise, the general manager of Cashew Gum Limited, on their plans and market flow in their sector.
Always industries, the well-known indicators are in terms of job creation. Cashew gum, we have the capacity of employing up to 400 people, if at all that we are operating in full capacity. So apart from employment, we are also looking into product. The finished kernel of cashew. Cashew also, it can be processed into various products. You have the cashew kernel, you have the jam, you have the spicy one. With the visits today, obviously we are really, really hopeful because having the minister himself visited your factory, that's a very good thing. And our CEO also have the opportunity to discuss with him, highlighting some of our constraints, and we believe that he will also facilitate those ones.
Minister Juve expressed optimism about what he has seen so far on this brief tour.
Cashew is consumed everywhere in the world. We want to see this cashew gum producing and taking it to shelves in the US, in the UK, in Europe, in China, and all over Asia. And for that to happen, the scaling up is what we are talking about, and that's why we had to make some business recommendations for him, which he is open to register in the stock market at the central bank. So I'm impressed with what I have seen, but I believe that they can be at a higher level if they are given that push in terms of capital injection, and that's what we are going to work on. Government has a responsibility, and we will take that responsibility seriously.
At the end of the tour, it was clear that young Gambian entrepreneurs like Olindao and Sumana Sambo and those at Cashew Gum Limited, whom the minister interacted with on this mini tour, have strong drive, ambition and entrepreneurial spirit, but faced several common constraints which the minister was able to see firsthand. For QTV News, Loliam Kamara.
We will now take a short commercial break, but when we return, we have more national and international news stories. Do stay tuned and join us after the break.
At Ajib Bank, we are more than banking. We build bridges that connect you to pivotal services every day. Do you have government bills to pay to the Gambia Revenue Authority, Comfort, KMC, or the Accountant General's Department? We've got you covered. From payment of customs and domestic taxes to GRA, payment of number plate and vehicle ownership transfer to Comfort, payment of property rates and business license fee to KMC, and payment of MR passport, business registration, fishing license, land fees, sale of assets, lease application, development permits, quarrying royalties, gravel and sand, mining royalties, and a host of other revenue lines to the Accountant General's Department. Walk into any of our branches nationwide and make your payments hassle-free. Either in person or online. Simple, secure, and immediate. With Ajib Bank, there is no need to worry about government bill payments for your vehicles, taxes, licenses, business registration, and any other revenue line. Ajib Bank, passionate about your investment. We've got you covered. Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
Supersonics Islamic Insurance, the Gambia's first digital insurance provider, brings innovation, convenience, and Sharia compliance to your doorstep. We offer a wide range of general insurance services, ensuring peace of mind and protection for what matters most. Whether at home, on the go, or in business, experience the difference with Supersonics Islamic Insurance Company Limited. Contact us today, +220-5132-319, 5132-318, or 5132-315. Email us info@supersonicsinsurance.com or on our website www.supersonicsinsurance.com or visit us at Bega Plaza 56 Liberation Avenue. Bye.
Welcome back. You're watching Qtv News and I'm Jacqueline Coley. Now, officials from the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat, ADRS, local authorities and members of the public witnessed the formal ceremony introducing community mediator at the ADRS premises in Farafenni. Our regional reporter was there and he filed this report, which is narrated by Loliam Kamara.
The Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat, ADRS, was set up to settle civil disputes amicably by using alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Addressing the group of mediators and guests, Bakari Kamara, the Deputy Executive Secretary of ADRS, after giving a brief synopsis of the existence of ADRS office, reminded mediators of their mandate. In attendance, Arfang Diba, representing the Alcalo, welcomed everyone and encouraged all the mediators to live up to expectation as they discharge their duties.
You guys are trained to be able to represent the ADR Secretariat in enabling our service to be able to be accessible to even someone in the rural areas. ADRS has a mandate, and our mandate is to resolve civil disputes. When I say civil disputes, it means land, family, inheritance, employment. Whatever is civil, that is what we are mandated to do.
He further reminded them that disputes are bound to occur.
Disputes are inevitable, but the most important thing is the step that we have taken in resolving that dispute. For instance,
here is Per Mendy, the Human Rights Officer in Farafenni, speaking to QTV at the end of the activity.
The National Human Rights Commission is an independent institution, but by virtue of our establishment, we understand that access to justice is key. People in the rural Gambia many a time are marginalized. So that is why it is important that we have structures and decentralize these structures. That was why in 2022, the Commission felt that there is a need to further decentralize. And that is why we are here. So I said this in Mandinka. The nexus between the National Human Rights Commission and ADRS is very clear. We share a common vision, that is access to justice.
Gui Seka Jangha, chair lady of the mediators, explained what is expected of a mediator.
Because we have the confidence in us. It's one of the most important attitudes that you should have, being a mediator. You should be patient, you should be a good listener, you should be very fair, don't be biased. Don't look at relationship, don't look at friendship, don't look at anything, but be honest. Look at the truth and walk according to the truth. So,
Fabakari Sane, a trained mediator, highlighted how the training will help them in his work.
As far as my even official work is concerned, I work as a regional youth coordinator working with young people, both youth and sport. So this training is an additional clause to what we are doing in a quest to maintain peace and tranquility within the community. Because you know, most of the time, our boys, young people in football, at home, we have been doing mediation in different perspectives. In terms of individual, in terms of group, it's our ongoing activities trying to see how best young people, how best community people can live trouble-free.
Other speakers were Yaya Fofana of Suare Kunda, Fansudiba, a community elder, Musu Jaju, senior mediator of Farafenni, while the vote of thanks was given by Fatu N. Sedi. For QTV News, Loliam Kamara.
Now for some international news. A 6-month deadline set by the West African bloc ECOWAS for Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso to reconsider their exit expired on July 29 without the three countries taking up the offer. Instead, the three Sahelian nations have continued to integrate their economies and move forward together. Deji Badamosi from our partner CGTN tells us more.
It was always going to be an uphill task for ECOWAS to get Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger back into the fold. The trio decided last year to leave the West African bloc, saying they'd be better off alone. They quickly established their own cooperation organization, the Alliance of Sahel States, and resisted all pressure from its much bigger regional neighbors to reconsider. Now, All eyes are on whether they can make a success of it.
At this stage now, it is no longer the decision of even these three Sahelian states, because you also have the international dynamics to what is going on. Then again, moving towards Russia, for instance, who they now see as a viable partner going forward for them. And so they have to take into consideration a lot of things. The international dynamics is important, but there's also the importance of what happens to them. If they succeed in terms of their economic trajectory and in terms of the security implications or situation right now in those places, if they're able to have some measure of success, then they will not see any need for them to want to go back to ECOWAS.
Without much progress in convincing the trio to come back into the regional bloc, at least for now, ECOWAS may have to follow through with negotiations on the terms of their departure. Among the knotty issues is the movement of nationals from the three-nation alliance within ECOWAS, the future of programs financed and implemented by ECOWAS and the three countries, as well as the terms of repayment of debts contracted by the trio with the bloc's Investment and Development Bank.
So I think they will work out a framework through which these debts will be paid. That is one. Then the issue of free movement, obviously, is something that would be of absolute imperative to these Sahelian countries, essentially because you know that these countries are landlocked. So I guess that they will find themselves in a position where they just have no choice than to have some kind of one-to-one arrangement or bilateral arrangement with certain countries to be able to flow. Of course, they have already said that they have promised visa-free movement to the remaining ECOWAS countries. But whether the ECOWAS countries are going to reciprocate is another thing. I think that ECOWAS, in this case, the bigger partner or the bigger brother, will continue to leave an open door through the interactions that they have with these countries, with the hope that one day they might see a reason, to want to come back to ECOWAS.
ECOWAS has so far not outlined its next steps, but it's indicated that it might be open to some sort of process that keeps the region borders open for free movement and trade.
It's a reality. We all travel freely within the sub-region, and we trade freely among ourselves. So that reality is there. ECOWAS therefore does not see another grouping as a threat. In addition to the alliance, you have many other smaller groupings within ECOWAS. You have UEMOA, you have Mano River Union, you have the other smaller functional organizations dealing with specific matters. And these are institutions that serve specific purposes within ECOWAS. So they are not in competition with ECOWAS. We don't see any organization as in competition with ECOWAS. We think we can complement each other. We just need to coordinate properly.
For now, talks between both sides are grinding along, albeit very gradually. Not much progress has been made, but the borders continue to remain open for free movement and unrestricted trade. The citizens of both sides would be hoping things remain that way, regardless of the political disagreement between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel States. Deji Badimosi, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Also in international news, on August 9th, the world marks the International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples. This year's theme focuses on AI's growing impact and the urgent need to include indigenous voices to prevent exclusion, bias, and the loss of cultural knowledge. Julden Jai has the rest of that story.
As artificial intelligence continues to transform global societies, concerns are increasing about its impact on indigenous communities, many of whom have historically faced marginalization and exclusion from technological and policy developments. The United Nations estimates that there are 476 million indigenous peoples across more than 90 countries, comprising less than 6% of the global population, but accounting for at least 15% of the world's poorest people. These communities speak over half of the world's 7,000 languages and represent more than 5,000 distinct cultures. This year's observance of the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples focuses on the intersection of indigenous rights and artificial intelligence (AI), a space where the UN warns exclusion is growing rapidly. According to the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, most AI systems are developed without the input of indigenous communities. Their data, including languages, cultural expressions, traditional knowledge, and imagery, is often collected and used without consent, violating principles of data sovereignty and cultural integrity. In a 2023 report, UNESCO emphasized that this lack of participation reinforces existing inequalities. The Gambia does not have a population classified as indigenous under the UN definitions. However, it is home to diverse ethnic groups, including Mandinka, Wolof, Fula, and Jola, each with distinct languages, oral traditions, and cultural practices rooted in centuries of history. These languages, though widely spoken, are often underrepresented in digital technologies, educational content, and public policy, putting them at risk in a rapidly digitizing world. The International Decade of Indigenous Languages 2022-2032, launched by UNESCO, aims to address these crises by promoting language preservation and inclusion in digital platforms. The call to action is clear. Indigenous peoples must not be left out of the AI revolution. Inclusion means not just access, but participation in shaping the values, rules, and systems behind technology. As the world celebrates the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, the UN urges governments, tech developers, and civil society to work together to ensure that indigenous voices are heard and their rights protected in the age of AI. For QTV News, I am Julden Yai.
And before we end, here's a recap of the headlines. At the conclusion of UN Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries, LLDCs, in Turkmenistan, the Gambia's Vice President, His Excellency Mohamed B.S. Jallow, late on Friday highlighted a strong international consensus on the urgent need to remove trade barriers and bolster global support for LLDCs. Energy Minister Nani Jawara appeared on Friday at the weekly Mansakunda Ministerial Town Hall meeting and gave updates on the Gambia's petroleum exploration efforts, energy sector developments, and coastal sand mining concerns. In the last of his site visits this week to MSME's Trade Minister Babukar Ojuv and team called at the Kashugam Limited Enterprise in Brikama Kabafita in the West Coast region. Officials from the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat, ADRS, local authorities, and members of the public witnessed a formal ceremony introducing community mediators at the ADRS premises in Farafenni. In international news, a 6-month deadline set by the West African bloc ECOWAS for Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to reconsider their exit expired on July 29th without the 3 countries taking up the offer. That's all for this news bulletin. Join us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Weekend Review with Ade Darame Modumboj with Lamindi Sonko doing the sign language interpretation. Thanks for watching and bye for now.